Now, when you get down to Sumner Avenue, yeah, it's gonna be a chore. But, like I said, there's still, I think we need to fall down on the side of the people that are trying to bring their businesses to town. That's what we want.
Yeah, it's just like John said. it's a tough world.
You know,
Put a sign there,
like I
maybe it'll
say,
drive the
I
customers
sympathize
away
with you,
anyway.
I sympathize with your thoughts, but
You don't
I
need a
just don't
business
think there's an easy way to do it. You know, I don't know, they have parking out back? Well, is there parking out back?
There's parking in that alley, there's garages back there, isn't there?
Well, I mean, is there parking for the business out back?
Yeah, for the owners and stuff, but then the customers, I don't
Okay,
think it's.
And part of, one of the things he's asked is to put in a handicap spot there, which I wanted to have this conversation kind of in conjunction before we put the handicap spot in. But, so, I mean, that might alleviate some of the issues when the handicap spot's there, but I don't know if it'll solve all the
Right.
problems for him.
Could you offer on north end then?
You know. So I guess, bring something back, don't bring something back.
What do we need to do for a handicap spot? We need an ordinance.
Is that ordinance for handicap? So, yeah, there'll be an ordinance, there'd be an ordinance for the handicap edition. Just a, okay. The other issue, parking issue, is, over on, Sumner, I think it's the old Wittery, don't get me wrong. Hopefully I'm not wrong. There is, they have apartments upstairs, and this issue's come up on some of the other residences downtown. Previous owners parked kind of in the parking there, and I think it was a source of frustration for a lot of folks that they were parking in that area.
That's where the one pickup's parked there, you mean?
Yeah, right in front of that, next to the pickup there. And so they want to clean that up, they want to concrete it, but they said, we don't have parking for any of our tenants upstairs. They said, you know, where are we supposed to direct those people to in the winter when there's no spots? Because you can see that building takes the full amount, you know. If you look at Clifton Califatich's building, there's a, you know, he's got a parking spot kind of in the back. I think Sisters, you guys have, it looks like you have a few that you can park kind of close in there.
Most of our employees are on that corner by the library,
Yeah.
in the alley. They come in the back door.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's some parking that's available, but as far as overnight, you know, you guys don't have any residents upstairs, but as far as overnight parking for individuals with residential uses in the upstairs, it seemed to make sense to me to provide some sort of permit or some sort of area that's excluded from the winter parking requirements. And from talking with Leroy, his thought was to do, if you do it, get it off Sumner in the side streets, if it's somewhere in the back next to the library, that there's an area that says, you know, permit A area, and that permit allows those individuals, if they pay the $200 fee or whatever, to park overnight, so that you don't get 15 people with permits or wanting permits, but to provide them some, you know, 3 or 4 spots for anybody who has residences in that area to utilize that area. And then if they don't clean it up, then they're subject to losing those.
How many apartments are in that upstairs?
3, I think. I think they're breaking down the walls and making them larger, but there are 3 apartments in the upstairs of that one place. And then Califatich has one above his. Obviously, you guys don't use yours in 605 as residents. I think I can't speak to that. I don't think Coral or Floral Creations has one. So I don't think it's a problem with where there's going to be a lot of vehicles using it, but I definitely want to accommodate any way that we can get that, keep parking from that right away area, because I think it did look not so good for the block. What's the
Well, didn't that
thoughts?
property owner, didn't he talk about taking that green space out of there?
Yeah,
And then he wants to pave from over to this sidewalk then?
Yeah, he wants to use it, have it, he'd like to think he's looking at a coffee shop or something like that. I can't remember what he was actually saying. He wanted to have like an outdoor
Oh.
like seating area possibly around there. And so, which would be kind of neat. Definitely better than park.
It really wasn't 100% legal for cars to park there.
No.
So we just kind of looked the other way, but it really wasn't legal. But they're asking you to try and clean it up, which I understand. So you're saying like a $200 for the winter fee, or for the year, or what are we
Well,
talking about here for a permit?
I would think that you would want to, and obviously this is more just discussion. I don't have anything solid right now. I just want to see where you guys are at. But, I think you'd want to make it high enough that you don't get frivolous requests, that there must be a pretty decent need and that person wants to be there. Plus, there's going to be some administrative costs and keeping an eye on it. I guarantee you there'll be a bad actor that I have to take some sort of action against, that they no longer get to use the permits. So I think there should be some sort of fee attached to it. We'll have to put some signage up in that area, so some revenue to pay for the signage. I guess my thought is, and maybe it's too high, too low, but my thought is like 200 for a year, because the person's only going to be parking there. All it does is exclude the winter and night parking requirements. So it doesn't really give them a whole lot. And honestly, this area kind of next to the library has been an attractive area for cars to get abandoned. We've had it happen several times where I have to go in and work with police officers to get a car removed. Some with broken windows and all sorts of interesting things. So
The other thing, when we get our ice skating rink, it's gonna add to the parking issues.
well, yeah. I mean, I think you'll have a decent amount of people down there. I don't know when they'll be down there.
I'm assuming
Yeah.
most of the time in the evening.
Yeah. So
So you're proposing that space by the library, but what about the space on the west side of that business there on Taft Street? You're not proposing
Legally,
any,
you really can't do that.
anything there? Unless we would make it a permit place.
No, you're legally can't. You're parking between city property and the street. If you do that, you're gonna open, the same way as Johnson, you open that up for every other place in town. You can't do that. They
Yeah.
do it, but you can't legalize it, I should say.
And as far as the actual street, that was the one, talking with Leroy, that was the one concern, is stay away from the streets, because they want to be able to come through there, windrow that whole block. And that's the whole reason that you get people off the streets when they're coming through. Now, back in this, kind of odd area back in the alley, if it's a little dirtier and there's a little bit of slush, you're not going to have business owners calling you and complaining. Whereas if the front areas don't get as clean as they possibly can get it at that point, then you get a lot of frustrations, especially with milk. The more that's left out there, the more ponds, and then people are really getting it. So I think that, if there's a few dirty spots from the not getting cleaned up, I don't think it would actually be that different than other years, because we've had issues with abandoned vehicles other years in those areas. So I guess that's why I stated that. It's not terribly close, but I think it's probably the best option to split the difference between what the city needs as far as being able to remove snow and providing a winter option for those residents. A little bit of exercise in one.
I think it looks good. I see nothing wrong with it.
Okay, what, take like 5 spots to start with, or what are you thinking for?
Well, you wouldn't take them out of commission either. Just say, just have a sign that says permit A parking or whatever, and this is the allowable area.
Right, but that would be their spot.
Well, you'd have
Technically,
to.
it's their spot.
Yeah, I wouldn't assign spots or anything like that. Just
Those,
say-
but if you took a block, it'd
Yeah.
be, those are the only people that could use those spots. If I paid you $200 a year, that's actually my spot. I can't, because then if I come there to use the spot, somebody else is there, that's a tollway zone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So
'cause
that's
you don't want
actually my
anyone
spot.
else. You don't want anyone else parking there.
No,
Yeah, that's true.
because then they're gonna park there all the time. The other guy that's paying for
Mhm.
the spot doesn't get to use it, and it makes no sense to pay, so.
So, yeah, I mean.
So if you're gonna do that, then you know, to me, you'd have
See
to have
how
an
many-
A, B, C, D or something that would be their spot, so.
I think you put it in place and, take, I wouldn't take too many, maybe just 3 to start with, and then see how many actually come up, because we might have created a solution in search of a
Yeah.
problem, but, that's the thing, is.
You start on the left side and then, if you need more, you can always just keep working
Yeah.
your way over, so.
So, but I can bring back,
Four or something.
yeah, I'm sure that I can talk to some of the administrators and get some language from other cities that have permit parking like this, and see what they've used, and bring it back in front of the council.
Nice to do it fairly soon before winter comes, because then
Yeah.
that's when we're gonna need
Well,
it.
actually, there's
Another month.
There's no tenants in the upstairs. right
Okay,
now,
then
so-
we're fine for now.
No,
Okay.
so that's
We're
that.
working on that now.
Yeah, I think that they're concerned about when they do have tenants,
Yeah.
moving forward, because the reason it came up is he's actually looking at pulling a permit to pave that, and he said, okay, so if I pave that area, where do I tell my tenants to go now? So,
Hard to rent something if they can't park.
yeah, exactly, so,
Then you don't know what cars.
a lot of walkers. That would be the person, so.
Okay, so you'll bring that back at the next meeting then?
Will do.
Any other questions on that or discussion? If not, we'll move on to resolutions. First off, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-117. A resolution adopting an amended cafeteria plan, including a dependent care assistance program and healthcare reimbursement plan effective October 1st, 2014. This will take some explanation to me, because I didn't understand it after I read it, so.
Yeah, me either.
Do you want me to explain this, or do you want to? All right, so this will change the plan to a $500 carryover for healthcare reimbursement. So we have, the employee can opt to take a certain amount of their of money into a flex spending account for healthcare expenses every year. And sometimes you end up with, $500, $1,000 left over. As it is today, that person is use it or lose it after X amount of months to get rid of whatever amount they had assigned for that flex spending account. What this will allow is that there will be a $500 carryover for the next year. And then the 2.5 month grace period on dependent care is actually the same as what it is today.
That'd be a max of $500 or what?
Maximum of $500 carryover. That's what the law allows. Honestly, I'd love for it to be $1,000 or whatever, but the max they allow is that $500. So this is strictly for those 2 flex plans going forward. I know, I've run into it. I think we've had several employees who ran into issues where they're right up against the end, and hopefully you wear contacts or glasses or something and can spend down that money. But it's a good, it's definitely a good
So it's
benefit to offer.
Costs the city nothing
No.
extra then.
So,
Second.
Roll call vote?
Goodell,
Aye.
Slater,
Aye.
Scholl,
Aye.
Rusher,
Aye.
Davis.
All right,
Next, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-118. A resolution approving contract change order number 2 from Gofferson Smith Construction Company of Ida Grove, Iowa, in the amount of a net increase of $21,190 for the Southern Revenue Bridge Replacement Project.
This change order is for the piling work that was needed to address the differences from geotechnical information in the report and actual depths of rock. The rock has been sporadic throughout the bridge work.
This is more on the west end then? This isn't addressing the east end yet, this is still working on the west end.
This was all the west end costs.
The west end, yeah.
The east end costs are,
That's different, yeah.
those will be upcoming.
Yes.
Little show and tell with a picture here. This is the footing for Pier 4. Pier 4. What's it? Okay, so this is the footing for Pier 4. One of the things you can see here is this is a rock cliff that kind of runs along where the footing is supposed to be sitting. You can see where they excavated out the footing here. And so there's like a 3-inch lip or so for the embedding of the footing into the rock. This is really problematic because the loading on the pier, the most important loading on this footing is actually right in this area. And so the fact that there is a split in the rock at that point means that could compromise the footing. So, with that in mind, they had to, once they found this out, they came up with all sorts of ideas for if that rock was 3 feet below that water. Unfortunately, that rock is not even 15 feet below that water. It's a rock cliff that just, they haven't found the bottom of it yet. And so, you figure possibly 20 feet away, the rock was at 30 feet deep. You know, you go another 20 feet, it was at 15 feet, and then another 20 feet, it was at 100 and some feet. So it is all over the map. One of the contractor said it's the second most difficult bridge he's ever worked on. Can't remember the name of the first one, but there's a lot of design work that's going into this from the engineers to try and figure out how to drive pile in this area to support the footing for the bridge. They have not completely come up with that because they're concerned that the sheer face of this could continue out and then the pile won't seat into the rock. And so how do you get the pile to seat so it doesn't slip down that rock face and end up compromising the footing again? So several issues that have come up. We're not out of the woods with this one yet. And so every single pier now, except for the first pier, which happened to get flooded, has had issues.
Well, it does go to show you, 100 years ago, the guys weren't that stupid that built the old bridge.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have
Built
dealt
by hand. You know, They knew enough to put 2 piers in and not 4 piers in, so.
It's interesting. So anyway, they're working on this. This is not included in the 20,000. I just wanted to mention it.
So
The
they-
20,000 was the pile work on the other 3 piers that was more welds and more pile than what they were planning on using. This is
in the 50-plus range here,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
and we don't know yet because we're not done yet. So, trying to figure out, I mean, there's a lot of engineering hours that are gonna go into this to try and to solve this problem. The DOT is fully engaged on it. There's several engineers with the DOT that are trying to help out and figure it out. This is possibly a worst-case scenario when you have the footing in this area is exactly where the highest loads are gonna be, and it's the smallest area with that change running right through the middle of it. So, not a good situation. Obviously, this is inside the cofferdam. They've let it flood back in because they couldn't work on it. And so that's not a good sign when they shut off the pumps because there's no hope of working within the next 2 days. What this all comes down to is it's highly unlikely that that bridge will be open for the winter. Highly. And, you know, it's not really a contractor issue, it's not really an engineering issue. You know, the geotechnical information, you know, they had bores all throughout here, but you can understand now why the geotechnical information came back false is because the rock just drops off that quick. So if you were 5 feet off the mark, then you're way off the mark because you could be on this spot or that spot.